Boom, hello and welcome to the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast, Season 2.
With your host, Byron Rodgers. This podcast is dedicated to the executive protection practitioner, the private security professional. In this podcast, we're going to talk about the mental, emotional, psychological, physiological fitness that goes into being an efficient and effective executive protection agent. Whether you're in law enforcement, whether you're a mom that's looking at how to protect her children, or a father that's focused on how to protect his family, I believe this podcast has something for all of you. We might even get into some tales from the crypts of true Hollywood stories from time to time. I'm doing this podcast because I feel the reality of this job is simple. If you really want to be good at executive protection, it's more than just a job. It really is a lifestyle. And those of you who've been in the game for any serious amount of time, you already know what I'm saying is true. So if that sounds interesting to you, enjoy the show. Out.
Boom! Yo, what's up, you guys? Byron Rodgers here. Hope you guys are ready to have a good show, man. Welcome to another episode of the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast. I'm excited to do these things this way. It's one of my favorite ones. But first, before we get too deep in it, just so I know you guys actually can hear me and we are actually good and we are actually live, why don't you give me a seven, give me some lucky sevens in that comment bar to the right, just so I know you guys are here and you guys can hear me. The cool thing about these types of podcasts that I'm doing now is the interactive component. So that's what's up, Brad, Barrett. Good to see you guys. Anthony 7777. Man, boom. Thanks for the invite, Callie. Yo, where's everybody from out here in this crowd, man? Where's everybody here from? We got nothing but sevens. Shane O'Brien, we got all kinds of sevens. Yo, what's up? Everybody's rolling in hot, man. Where are you guys from? Let me see. Okay, we got Marshall, Texas. Loud and clear. Scott says he's got me loud and clear. Yeah, man. Me and Josh are looking forward to just mixing it up. New Zealand, Australia, Sydney in the house, Texas, Boston, Detroit, OC, California, Anthony. Yo, who else we got? We got Austin from New York, Barrett from Phoenix, Arizona. We got people from all over, man. So this is nice. So if you guys have any other guests you want to suggest or know any other heavy hitters from around the world, boom. Please, by all means, let me know. Let's all get connected. Let's make the whole industry better on an international level. So without any further ado, man, how you doing, Josh?
I'm good, right? How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good, man. I love doing this stuff. So it's any day I can put out some content and try to make a contribution is a good day for me in this game, man. So I'm glad we're able to work together on this one for sure.
Absolutely, man. It's very cool to be able to speak across the globe.
Yeah.
It's a small industry, but a big space.
Yeah, that's true, man. No, that's a good way of looking at it. And thanks for reaching out to me, man. And I'm always honored when, people reach out to me to do things like this. So that's awesome. So I guess just jumping into it, brother. Why don't you give a little background, and then I'll give a little background for those folks who don't really know who we are,
Yeah, cool, man. So my name's Josh Reeve. I'm the founder and owner of Empire Protection, which is based in Australia. Been in the game roughly 20 years, background in federal law enforcement, state corrections, and then the private circuit. Basically started a company in about 2013 after doing the freelance circuit and realizing that even with some major global providers out there, that there were still gaps in the market, and there were people claiming to have this, this global product that's been around 100 years or 200 years or whatever it might be, but it still had holes in it. We still had clients, with unsatisfactory results, and we found there were times that clients were requesting, the front-line service, but not appreciating the back-end service. So the company started originally as a vehicle, I guess, for the network of guys to have a vehicle to operate through. And then it's expanded to where it is now.
Awesome, brother. When you say, now we're all getting into conversation, but when you say gaps in the market, what gaps did you see out there that caught your attention?
I think it's in the standards of service delivery, man. Look, the products are there. EP is a product. We all know what it is. Everyone delivers, the basic version of EP, but it's in the standard. It's in the client side, and the client facing side is one aspect. When you're a sole operator, it's like all you have to worry about is your client and your team. Is your client happy? Is your boss happy with you? And that's all you have to worry about. You go to bed. If that's done, that's sweet. When you're a business, it's the admin, it's the logistics, it's the back end. It's like, did you book the right hotel room? Is the car satisfactory? Is the invoice okay? Is your terms and conditions all right? And
Yeah.
some of those things can be tough when you're doing it across time zones, and communication can be slow and all those things. And I think a lot of companies just weren't getting that right. There's great operators out there, but if you're let down by the back end, then it reflects badly on everybody. So that's what we're trying to iron out.
Yeah, no, man. We see the same thing up here in the U.S., man. We see the same exact thing. And I think it's just a consequence of our market. Like ground pounders want to get in and do the work, and sometimes they skip a few steps, and then next thing you know, it's like, do you understand the business aspect of it, the admin and logistics aspect of it? And sometimes I think they don't realize the repercussions of certain actions. It's like, I can just say yes to my client, get it done, however the client wants it, for whatever price the client can pay, just to get the work. And it's like they don't realize that they're damaging the whole market sometimes by doing things like that.
100%. And I think people don't understand who the key players are sometimes. Like if you've got a corporation and a client, you might think, that CEO or that board member is my client, right? They're not the client. They're not the guy that pays the bills. They're your client operationally.
Yeah.
That could be the EA, it could be the CFO, it could be, somebody in the business that's authorized your invoice, that's authorized your operation. Yeah. And sometimes people don't pay attention to who that is. And that's the person you need to keep happy. That logistics guy that's a couple down the chain.
Okay, cool. I think the connection issue was there. So anyways, you guys, real quick, just for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Byron Rodgers. I am a CEO up here in the Orange County, California region. I've been in executive protection since 2008. It's the only job I've ever had after being infantry in the Marine Corps. I've built, cut my teeth out here. I've also worked in the East Coast, Miami area in that market. I've done executive protection since I was 21. Now I'm 34. Now I've got an online school called the Executive Protection Training Day. It's really more than just training. It's a success package. We teach you how to do everything from get your resume put together all the way up to interviewing. And then we teach social dynamics, interfacing with clients, interfacing with teammates, how to really win in the industry, not just how to do executive protection, how to build your own brand in executive protection so you have options over your career. So that's what that school is all about. Then you get a network and we do our careers together and I coach you for the rest of your career. I've also built the Protector Nation, which I'll be rolling out. It's an ongoing continued learning educational platform for protectors, all the soft skills, everything that you can learn through a computer about how to be a sophisticated protector. And I've done a number of large live events called the Protector Symposiums. And those are, regardless of background, for everyone. You can find out more about those online at protectorsymposium.com. You can find all my stuff at byronrodgersmotivation.com. And to join the school training day, you can also go to executiveprotectiontrainingday.com. But all of it through my website, you should have contact with and access to. Now I service a number of clients out here in Orange County, California. I've successfully conducted operations in over 70 countries easily, and I'm also a published author of a book called Finding Meaning After the Military and a double psychology major. So if you guys, one of the cool things about what we're doing here today is we got comments. You guys can interact with us. And so that's one of the most beautiful things. So anytime you guys have a question or want to make a comment, send it in the chat section over there on the side of your screen. Well, it pops up on the side of the screen for us. And go for it. What do we have? Executive Protection Training Day, a must-have course for executive protection professionals. If you're not signed up for it, please do. It's worth it. So much more than price. Hey, it will set your it will set your game up. Michael Rowan, man, thanks so much for the endorsement. He's one of the guys that I work with inside of the Training Day Success Package in the League of Executive Protection Specialists, and he's doing good out there. So it's an honor to train with these guys, man. And I don't think of myself as like an instructor. I'm more like a peer that's going through my career with you guys, and I just want to contribute what I know, So heck yeah, man. Thanks so much for saying that, Michael. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, make sure you say some things so we can interact with you. But anyways, that's enough about me. That's enough about our format. Let's jump into it. The way we're going to do this is me and Josh are going to go back and forth with some questions. And are you going to ask me questions, Josh, or am I just blasting questions today?
Yeah, man.
Okay, cool. I'm
going to hit you up, bro.
And he's going to hit me up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we're just going to shoot from the hip and just roll with it, man. Solid, man. So I just asked you one. What do you got for me, brother?
Look, I guess, man, the first one I want to hit up is I guess, a current topic for you guys. We hear so much on the news over here about all the riots and everything that's happening in various places across the states. And I guess that's something that over here we're not really, confronted with domestically. We just work throughout Asia and some of those things present. But I guess we get those news about Portland and Seattle and all those things happening. And
yeah.
I guess I want to get your perspective on how that impacts. I mean, it's a factor in itself, but how does that impact you guys in the industry? And some of those things are such big incidents. How does that relate to the guys operating in those spaces?
Dude, it's been amazing. So like it's the private security industry, right? So like all the chaos and mayhem as a business owner, right? So I got people calling me being like, yo, I need, a 4-man team here. I need a 5-man team here. Now, it's not all executive protection necessarily, but the fear in the air and all these crazy things destabilizing our way of life essentially just validate the model. So then I got my private clients that are like, yo, I need more guys. Like, we need to make sure we got 2 guys on at night. We need, like all of a sudden it's not like where it once was like, what do these security guys even do? And you got to do KPIs, key performance indicators. And you got to do all these things to be like, look, we're worth something and we're busy. Now it's like, yo, we love you guys. Thanks for doing your job. Like they come down the street, you got us, right? We're like, gotcha, yeah, we've been here the whole time. So so within the portfolio of clients that I work with, anything gathering centric, crushed. That was hard. That was bad, right? But everything that's like family centric, in some ways corporate centric, corporate stuff kind of got shut down a little bit. But then on the flip side of that, clients with corporate structures were like, yo, I need bodies. I need you guys to make sure they don't go to my office building and start breaking windows. So then like other accounts came. So I guess if I was going to say the lesson would be like Dave Chappelle was, you need to diversify your bonds, but like you got to stay diverse in your relationships and connections, because who knows what compartment of the industry gets hit next and where you need to shift to. So widening those, making sure you have diversity in your relationships and clients, huge for this type of thing, man. Yeah.
Has that been extra difficult in the COVID world? With all the social distancing, all the extra measures, the safety things you have to put in place as a company for the COVID measures, and then trying to go into a riot space where obviously those things aren't really occurring. Is that like a double-edged
weirdness? Yeah, I mean, it's I think the biggest friction point with COVID was like, one, it depends. If you have a client that's ultra sensitive to it, then you really, got to make sure you're doing the song and dance with sterilization and checking temperatures and all the PPE and all that. That was the big friction point, and then wearing those masks all day and things like that. The other piece of it is just like making sure that you have an actual strategy for if something happens, what you're going to do, enforcing those protocols, social friction around someone showing up that actually has a kind of high temperature, because one of my accounts in a hot place, we hit him with the thermometer and we're like, I don't think we can let you in. And it's like,
Now I'm gonna have to upset this person and the client over this COVID thing, what's going on? Like, and we would like cool the thermometer. Like we would kind of like be like, let's make sure we get an accurate reading. Why don't you come inside for a little bit? And then, so we had to kind of do some things to make sure, all the equipment was working right. We're getting good reads and things, but it can put you in an awkward situation, and just more protocols, which are more things that can go wrong, so, that's where I saw it really impact. I did have a few guys that were really concerned about it, and we gave them time off and did lose some like manpower here and there. But overall, and no one got it and no one was negatively impacted by it. Right. But,
Sure.
Maybe some guys took it as an opportunity to have some time off. I don't know. Heaven forbid, I'm sure that's not what they did, but maybe, God bless them. So those are some of the things. How about you guys down there, man? How did it hit you guys?
So our numbers aren't, anywhere near comparable to America's. Obviously, our population's less, but even percentage-wise, I think our numbers are really low. But our government took a pretty extreme approach to it very early on. So we went into an early series of pretty strict lockdowns. Internal state borders shut, international borders shut. So now we're having trouble even transferring in between states internally. And where I am in Melbourne, we had what they're referring to as a second wave after we kind of got rid of it, which probably a topic we'll get into because it directly relates to the security experience. But essentially, we had the second wave, and we ended up with a few thousand cases in Melbourne, and we're at a point now where we've got nighttime curfews. You're not allowed to leave your house unless it's for like essential medicine.
Okay, I think he's gone again. Yo, let me hit up some of these questions right quick while we got a couple minutes and Josh comes back to us. Peer coaching is most effective very often. Yes, it absolutely is. I'm going to throw you guys a link to my training day course so you guys can check that out when you have time. As a professional EP agent, let's see here. As a professional EP agent, do high-end clients. Mr. Keith, I'm not quite sure if you're asking a question or making a statement there. Bobby Willis, I'm a PI in Atlanta. How can this benefit me? Private investigation work along with sometimes bounty hunting type of other jobs that bail bonds work that have to do with like they're related fields, essentially. You'll find that a lot of executive protection agents have both PI licenses as well as executive protection licenses in their states. You might have a client that needs executive protection. I'm just answering, hey, Josh, good to have you back. I'm answering Bobby Willis's question. Oh, I think he just slipped again. You might have a client, Bobby, that is, hey, I need protection, but then they have a stalker. And then it's like, hey, time to go on ahead and look into the stalker. And you can do that because you're a PI much more effectively. Many times we have to use third-party PIs to do things. It just makes you more valuable in terms of your capabilities, Bobby. And then depending on what state you're in, you actually get, sometimes you have to get a PI license in order to carry concealed in certain states and things like that. So it's definitely a value add, Bobby, something you should throw on your resume, something you should throw in your marketing material. Kevin, Cheyenne, Portland, Oregon has been a mess trying to coordinate with police and keep company entities safe and secure. Yeah, man, I would have to agree with you, Kevin. That's what my guys in Portland were telling me. The thing is, though, there's so much work, like private security centric, not necessarily EP, but private security work that's come out of the chaos. I'm talking to guys on a scale of 1 to 10 that would be like 6s that I normally wouldn't even be talking to. They're looking at me like, maybe could it pay a little more an hour? Like, you know what I mean? Like I had to look through bodies during that time. And really, really I had to go into hyper interview mode. My workforce probably expanded, almost doubled during that time, and now it's back down to normal. But The cool thing about the riots and all the craziness is, the demand for security, and then the clients understanding the importance of good security, I believe, like, really went through the roof. So more appreciation. But yeah, man, things in Portland, from what I've heard, have been crazy. I'm sorry you guys are dealing with that like that over there, man. And I also wonder if there's going to be a segment of the market that, as a result of law enforcement, then maybe pulling back, that security might be able to occupy. That's hopefully less friction with the public, but something we can do to maintain a sense of order on some levels, right? Bigger market share for us. That could be positive for us. But my heart goes out to those dudes out there too, man. Do high-end clients consider you expendable, no matter how good of a relationship you have with them? Mr. Kenneth Peterson. The reality is, high-end clients, some of them maybe don't consider you expendable. You can form long-lasting, almost like familial relationships with your clients, but you should never, ever think that that's what's going on. Probably the thing that will allow you to form a relationship like that is going to be the respect they see, Mr. Kenneth, of you always making sure they know that you know your role and your place. And if you can always respect the fact that I am your employee, I'm here to serve you, I'm here to take care of you and protect you, and you never get too familiar with them, there's a much more increased probability that through the safety of you keeping those boundaries and parameters and being a consummate professional, you will create a higher quality relationship with them than just a simply work relationship with them. So one client is like almost like a father to me in some ways, right? And I've known him forever, since the beginning of my career. And he's contributed more to my life probably than many other people, than really top 3 contributors to the well-being that is my life now, right? But that's only in place because I am always an agent to him and he's always a client to me. So the answer to that is technically, yes, it can happen. But the second you think or act like it has happened, that they look at you more than just an agent, you will make a mistake that will get you fired and mess it up, and or they will smell it and it will destroy the relationship. So social dynamic stuff we cover in training day, man. It's a good question. Kevin, I spend a ton of time consulting within the company, probably about the COVID-19 stuff. Yeah, it sucked up a lot of time and bandwidth and assets, putting plans in place and dealing with COVID-related issues that weren't, in my opinion, not necessarily security-centric issues, but we constantly had to kind of clean that up, right? Anthony, let's see here. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Will this be viewable later on tonight? Anthony, to answer your question, I'm going to send this out. In the normal podcast, lineup, so I'll drop this in about a week. So when we do these lives, it's good to have everyone here just to like talk live like we're doing right now. I'm actually really enjoying this. I'm going to do this more often. But I also publish these on the Executive Protection Lifestyle podcast, which I'm about to actually put another link down inside the comments. So if y'all haven't started following that podcast, you guys can start doing that. We're on our 2nd season right now. It is the most listened to podcast in executive protection. No big deal. By the grace of God, it's worked out. And it's just one of the best executive protection educations, in my personal opinion, that's out there, because you learn from people who are doing it. Hopefully Josh is able to get back in here, but I'll keep on hammering on these questions. So let's see here. You guys keep asking them. We'll just keep doing this until Josh comes back. Consulting, Anthony. Sorry, I'm in Austin, no. Negative. Copy on Josh, not hearing Josh. All right, we got Scott Tyler. It's great having 2 high caliber industry leaders for this discussion. I'm thinking it would be beneficial for you guys to discuss the importance of developing your soft skills and how you both worked on these rapport building, how to influence clients towards more secure habits, processes, etc. Yo, Scott, Tyler, very good topic, very good direction to point the conversation, right? Let's see if we got him. I think Josh is coming back in. I'll kick this one. New audio stream.
Sorry guys, what's the internet connection in the...
Yo, I got you.
What's the internet connection in the Western world over here, man?
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. It's all good in the hood. So we got a question from Scott Tyler. I think it's a great one. He wants us to talk about, I think it would be beneficial for you guys to discuss the importance of developing your soft skills and how you have both worked on these rapport building skills and how to influence clients, things like that. What do you think, man? Go ahead. I'll jump on it in a second.
Well, I think even from the recruitment point of view, we say the aptitude and the attitude is more important than those hard skills in a lot of cases, because hard skills can be taught. There's a lot of guys out there with the law enforcement or the military background, and those skills are important, but they can be, quite common. There's a lot of guys coming out of those spaces. It's can you couple that with those soft skills, because it's the soft skills that get us through repeat business. That the client doesn't see the things you do. If you're fighting off an attacker, chances are the client's not even seeing that because he's been disappeared. And it's important. I'm not knocking those aspects, but it's you hear guys all the time talking about, I'm not going to carry bags, or I'm not here to run errands, or whatever. And it's like, we are, that's obviously when it's safe to do so. Obviously, don't detract from your duties. But if you got to do it, you got to do it, And I think it's putting away that ego. I'm not sure if it was Gavin de Becker or somebody I was listening to once said, if you're protecting a client for 10 days, and at one point in that 10 days, there's a physical altercation that might take 1 hour, there's still 239 hours left of that task that require the soft skills. So while that 1 hour might be the most important, the other 239 hours, they still matter.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole conversation. Well, what I say all the time is, man, your hard skills may save lives. Soft skills get you paid. That is huge with regards to, and that's the game. That's like, that's how you stay in the staying game. That's what we're doing here. Now, with regards to gaining rapport, this comes from maintaining your professional relationship and showing that you're effectacious, that you have efficacy, that you're effective, that you can be trusted. Okay. And so when your client sees that they can trust you to be professional, they can trust you to be proficient, they can trust you to be efficient, they can trust your judgment in a number of different situations, to make the right call, to make their brand look good and things like this, then you gain the type of rapport you need in order to be able to have the respect you need to do your job. What I mean by that is, you might be like wanting to say, sir or ma'am, I think we should go to the left. I think this is a good idea. I think this is a bad idea, and inject yourself in various processes that can lend more safety to the client, and control dynamics, where, they want to do something that's just inherently dangerous, and you can guide things, you can do your job better. But all of this stuff comes from managing perception and working on your professional relationship. I think where a lot of guys mess up is they start trying to build parallel relationships. Like, let's build a friendship. Maybe if you like me, you'll keep me around. No. You don't want them to like you. You want them to respect you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can like you. That's cool. But I would choose respect over liking, because liking is some seasonal type stuff. Yeah, I mean, liking, there's a lot of variables in liking. You know what I'm saying? Respect. Hey, you know what? Maybe he is annoying. Maybe he made a mistake today, but I can count on him to do his job. I respect the man. I think that's what keeps you alive. And then that type of relationship is what helps you gain rapport and be able to influence on what you were saying, Scott. Anything else you wanted to add, Josh?
I think it's that balance, right? Like, just like you said.
Yeah.
So you want to explain to the client enough of your job and your responsibility that they respect and understand when you come to them with something. So, you want to set the parameters. Like, we have, things with clients where we say, okay, if I say your name prior to asking you to do something, it's important. So if it's, sir, would you like to come this way? That's fine. But if it's, Mr. Smith, would you like to come this way? That's my way of saying, I need you to do this now. So establishing those little finer points that allow, the professionalism to remain if they're in public or whatever, it doesn't alert anybody to a situation, it doesn't embarrass them, it doesn't, create more of a situation than needs to be done. But it's about building a rapport enough that they respect, hey, this guy means something, he needs something from me, or he's serious, and I'm going to trust that. Because sometimes you might be, in the extreme case, closing an event down or removing them from, an important speaking tour or something. You might be saying, we're not going on the podium today because of some threat that we've determined. And they're not going to want to listen to that. They want to go on the podium. They want to go and perform. They want to go and do whatever it is. So when it comes to the crunch, if they don't trust your judgment, they're not going to listen to that.
Yeah.
Or they're going to push back or they're going to argue. So it's about finding that balance to say, I know what I'm talking about. We'll only do these things in the right and most appropriate circumstances. Because they have to be able to trust you if you make that judgment call one day.
Yeah, man. And then the other part too that I think a lot of agents don't talk about is like what happens when you tell the client, sir, ma'am, I don't think this is the best decision. We should do this, that, and the next thing. Or I usually come at them with like two options. I was like, what do you think about this or this option? That's not the crazy option you want to do. And they're like, nah, I want to go to Harlem at 3:30 a.m. in my Bentley. Are you coming or not? You know what I mean? Like, what's weird? What's your problem? And then sometimes you just have to do the unsafe stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or you got to decide, do I go with my client into this stupidness or not? But in private security, where it's like not like a government situation where like you're the professional and you have like rank and you can do things, and if they get mad at you, they'll just move you to another post. No, in private security, you wear the wrong shirt, you can get fired. You don't carry bags, you can get fired. You can be the coolest, most hi-ya dude with all the moves, you just get fired because you smelt funny one day. So something guys don't talk about is sometimes your client's just gonna be like, nah, like we're gonna go into the belly of the beast and you're gonna hold my umbrella. And that happens.
And I think that lends to a further conversation about integrity and compromising yourself, because there's a lot of people in here who would have been on tour with somebody who's been buying things they shouldn't be buying, or seeing people they shouldn't be seeing, or using things they shouldn't be using, and it's a fact. It happens. It happens more than we might like it to, and we all have to draw a line. You're in the room, or you're in the car, or you're on the boat, or you're in that space, and how do we deal with that? Because
okay, it's back to the Byron show. All right, looks like. I guess I'll just pick up with the questions where we had them, y'all. So check this out. It's great having a two-way conversation. So I hope we answered your question, Scott, about gaining rapport, client relations. On what my main man was bringing up, we'll move on to some of these other questions. Shane O'Brien, you're asking a question about basically what if a client does not want to wear a mask, and you're trying to deal with that. My advice in that situation, Shane, is that principals and clients have a tendency, we're talking about high-powered human beings here, billionaires, right? There's not a lot of no's or people that disagree with them around them. And Josh was actually already kind of talking about this before he had that fell off. But you're just going to find yourself in positions from time to time where you're going to have to figure out where your lines are, what you're okay with, what you're not okay with. If you believe that, your client might be in danger, and this goes right into what I was just saying for not wearing a mask, and you try to tell them, and your client's like, yo, I'm not wearing no mask today or whatever, and calls you a diaper face or something, depending on your relationship, you will just have to make a decision. The reality is they're responsible for themselves. You're there working for them, and you can't really make them do it. You can't make them do any of these things. So you then have to decide, like, well, I'm going to wear my mask if that's how I feel about the thing, and I'm going to do the best I can from where I'm at. And you very, very well could be dealing with something like that in this game, because our clients are high-powered CEOs. They're alphas. They're stars. The whole world revolves around them. They do what they want. You can't do it. Fine, I'll find somebody else who can do it. Who does this guy think he is? Telling me, this Byron guy was telling me, what I mean? So it really quickly, things can change and spiral. So you give your advisories, you give your advice, and sometimes you got to play ball. Sometimes they take the direction you want. And sometimes, no matter how good your relationship is, they're going to tell you to kick rocks and go sit in the back of the plane, So, and then you got to make a decision, what's it really worth? What's it really worth to go to war over this thing? Okay, he's coming back. All right, so that would be my 2 cents on that one, Shane, man. Yeah, they do what they want generally. What logistical issues did you run into during the initial surge of public overbuying of PPE and clearing product as supply for your agents, details, and residential teams? Michael Rowan. The biggest issue we had with PPE, Michael, is finding the stinking thermometers, man. Finding the thermometers that we're using, the no contact thermometers. That was the biggest issue. But other than that, we had masks quickly. To be honest, a lot of my sites weren't that worried about it. So they were like really taking their time. In a lot of ways, we didn't get hammered with needing to do it as quickly as maybe some sites did. So the only thing that really slowed me down, that I was like, hey, we had to go out and look everywhere were the thermometers, brother. Yeah, man. How do you find these jobs? Bobby Williams. This is something I talk a lot about in the Executive Protection Training Day Success Package, brother. The reality of finding work in this game. And then when you start a company, finding contracts, in my opinion, has to do with widening your sphere of influences and being able to procure, manufacture, sustain healthy professional relationships, and understanding the science of doing that and doing it from a genuine place of contribution, Bobby. So there's an art to that. There's a science to that. And a lot of it is really what I teach in the training day program, man. It's being where the professionals are, learning how to digitally market yourself, learning how to brand yourself, learning how to digitally network. Because right now, what live events are you going to go to where you're going to meet executive protection professionals? How many jobs are you going to right now where you're meeting people and you're widening your sphere of influence? When you do meet those people, how do you make a lasting impression? And how do you make sure they call you when their boss says, hey, we got a big detail coming up. Yo, cattle call everybody. The short answer to your question, Bobby, is relationships. That's how I don't find the jobs. I've positioned myself as a specialist of executive protection, which is what I teach my all the people that I train with. Position yourself as a specialist of executive protection, and then the opportunities will literally come to you. People will call you. People will reach out to you when you build your brand properly. And you can do it high visibility like I do, or you can do a low visibility like many other professionals I know do as well. So that's the short answer, Bobby. A little bit of magic in there, you know what I'm saying? But there's definitely a formula to it. Hold on, respond to someone real quick. Make sure my dude's good. Okay, let's see here. David, what you got, man? Hey, how's it going, Byron? Thanks, David. It's going good, man. It's an honor to do this stuff, honestly. Man, brother, nothing going on here in Dallas, Fort Worth. Needs to pick up. I really need some EP experience after your school. Okay, solid, man. Okay, like I say, work the process. I think we got you back, Josh.
I'm back, man.
I can hear you. I can hear me too. Get that echo going.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Let's see here. Where were we? We were talking about values, and you were going to go into EP agents needing to draw the line. Okay, I think we're just having some problems with the connection down under. Hey, how's it going? Okay, so you were talking about Dallas, David. I'm going to click back over to David here. So there is a reality in the executive protection game that has to do with the market you're in for services. You got to find other ways to generate work, and sometimes you have to even generate work around a different niche. There are a lot of different techniques and tactics to do it. You got to know where to look to find the decision makers, yacht companies, production companies, stadium people that run, the people that are in the management for stadiums and things like that. And then the reality that I find with a lot of people that ask me this question is, have you applied to all the executive protection schools in your area? If the answer is not yes, then you have more work to do. And there's no reason that we're having this conversation about not being able to find work. You should apply to every single one. And if you haven't applied to every single one and gotten feedback as to why you didn't get selected or whatever it is, that's where the whole battle starts, right? So that's one step in the process that I find that a lot of folks, might quit a little early on. And I hate it when I see, people quit early, so, and then even going to guard companies that necessarily don't specialize in executive protection, but letting them know what you do, what you want to do, and how you can serve them, and how you can serve them as their executive protection guy and maybe head up their executive protection department. I've done this with a few guys and it's worked in markets where there's less work, right? So just a few tips, man. But I feel you. If the market's slow, man. Sometimes it's just slow. Okay, Zachary Forrest, do you foresee, and that's actually what we're talking about, the training day package right there. And it looks like we're offering quite a bit off on that. So you guys should take advantage of that. Do you foresee that when border restrictions lift, that there will be a better understanding or appreciation and demand for CP or EP? Zachary, absolutely. Based on what I'm getting from my clients, homie, absolutely, man. The reality I'm seeing is my clients are like, the feeling I'm getting from the industry and from VIPs is once these borders open up, they're about to go do stuff. Like, it's like everyone's pent up. The economy's pent up. Everything's pent up. And I think we're going to see a big surge in activity around buying and selling and business and commerce and client extracurricular activities. That's going to really almost be like a reset for the economy. And now, granted, I don't have a crystal ball. Remember, I'm just a grunt. You know what I'm saying? So, in reality, don't take my word to the bank. But what I am saying is I really feel like there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot going on in the near future in our industry. Ryan Paul, Tyndall, how do you organize travel overseas? This is a few words, but a very big question. So I would say, Ryan, the short answer to that is simply, let me just make sure I'm good. The short answer to that is relationships. Once again, all business comes down to is relationships, right? I make sure and I do my due diligence, man. I go in and I do a digital advance. I am in that country before I'm in that country, right? And this is stuff, that link at the bottom of the screen, that exclusive offer you guys are looking at to join me and train with me. I actually train with you weekly for the rest of your career, live, Zoom calls, all that stuff. I go in and I do the work digitally first. I'm in that country before I'm in that country. I hit up all the different online resources to research that country, find out what's going on in that country. I use my network to find out if I have anybody who's been there, who works there, who still is there as an on-ground security asset, right? I make contact with law enforcement assets. If I can't carry there and weapons are required for the mission, I then leverage relationships to make sure those are in place. And then by the time I get to that country, if I'm doing like a one-man advance and like the clients are coming a few days later, I try to make sure I have one day for every single day the client's going to be on ground. This does not always happen, but it's like ideal. This is what you want to train your clients to. It'd be like, yo, this is how we do business. This is industry standard, right? So I try to make sure I have one day for every day that the client's on the ground to do exactly what the client's going to do for that day. So I live every day the client's going to live before them. I walk through everything. And this is ultra like perfect world, right? It's a blessing that I'm able to pull this off. But I have had advances where I've gotten into a country 3 hours before the principal. And it's just like, yo, it's just time to work. Get here, boom, hit your itinerary up. And the principal's right behind me. And I literally land in the FBO, shoot information back up to the jet. The guys are 3 hours behind me. I'm running the FBO route to the venue. I'm doing my route selection and route recon on the way to the venue. I get to the venue. I set up a hasty advance at the venue, meet everybody, meet my POCs, pick out all the positions, assign all the positions to all the teammates, all the team members, come up with the ingress, egress, and immediate action and emergency plans, and run through absolutely everything. And then by the time they land, and then I get back to the FBO, they land in the FBO, I take them through everything that I just planned out, like hours after I planned it, take them to the venue, bump from the venue after the event, but before they leave to the hotel, set the hotel up, and then they come, to the hotel, and I'm like, yo, what's up? How you doing, sir, ma'am? This, great event tonight. Everything's fine. And they have no idea, so I'm capable of that. That also comes from the same type of plan, but the steps are just ultra shortcutted. And in training day, I give you literally different types of briefs for different situations, different types of advances for different situations. I show you how to do a hasty advance. I show you how to do a full operation order, straight up brief to your team. And, the differences between a hasty advance and an operation order and the type of advance information you give a client. So working overseas, I utilize the short answer, right? Is I utilize local assets that are vetted properly. If you don't vet them properly, you can really have some issues. And the process for that varies. The process for that varies country to country, essentially. So, boom. Let's see what else we got here. This is fun, man. This is like just shooting from the hip. This is awesome. You guys keep bringing the questions. I'll hang with you guys for a little bit more. Question for Josh, Empire Protection James. Man, Josh is in here looking to offer Certificate 3 in close protection, their own set higher standards in Australia. Currently, the course option. Let's see if we got Josh back. Yo, brother.
Hey.
You back? Awesome.
Really?
Yeah, no worries, man.
Sorry, guys.
It's not too crazy, man. This can happen. Murphy's got an ice pick and a baseball bat when it comes to technical difficulties sometimes, man. So it's all good.
You test it 100 times and now's when it fails, huh?
Yeah, of course. Yo, what would you say to James Hickey has a question for you directly on the sidebar there. If you go down, you see it in orange.
Yeah, so just for the background on this, so for you guys in America, I think you have, like some places you have like a guard card or something you call it, and it's pretty low standard, pretty low barrier to entry.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's horrible. It's terrible. Yeah.
So we have like an equivalent here, right? So you have to have a minimum of a certificate 2 in security training to obtain a license in any of the states. And that's to do just basic, sort of security asset protection and crowd control and that sort of thing. And a certificate 3 is the next step, which then allows you to do like EP and surveillance and some other things. So on paper, it's not bad because the certificate 2, believe it or not, the minimum requirement is 17 days of training. And then the certificate 3 is like another 10 or 15 days on top of that. So you would think that somebody having like 30 or 40 days of training just at a base level would make it a pretty high standard in the industry. But in practice, it's not the case. So to put it bluntly, if somebody comes to me and says, I have the nationally mandated minimum certificate 3 in bodyguarding, as an employer, it means nothing to me, essentially, other than that you have met the minimum licensing requirement. Which is unfortunate because there's some really good guys come through the training space because you have to do these illegal requirements that are going to be really good operators or have the potential to be really good operators or have a background that allows them to come through. But because the government requires that level, everybody's just at that level. So I can't differentiate my certificate 3 from that guy's certificate 3 because they're the same, So I think what James is getting at there is that there really isn't a system in Australia of recognising a higher training standard, even if it's not recognised by the government outlets. There's really not many options over here. So a lot of guys are travelling to Asia or to America or to South Africa to get those higher level professional development courses. So it's a difficult market over here. Having said that, we are actually in the middle of a development phase of an online training platform, which is going to cover a whole wealth of security-related topics with video delivery and some live stuff as well.
Awesome.
I definitely understand that online training isn't practical training, and it's not, without the hands-on element. It is what it is. It's limited, but we're going to look at how we can develop that moving forward in a practical sense, because that option just doesn't exist, and guys aren't going to spend $20,000-$30,000 heading over to Roden in South Africa or over to you guys in the States to find some legitimate training. It's a real barrier.
Yeah, man. No, that's in my opinion, a digital component of it is there's still so much value you can give folks with it, man. And doing it your way it's valuable, man. And granted, there are certain component skills, like we were talking at the beginning of the thing, and that's kind of what inspired me to do my digital school is like, I can't walk the formations with you, but I can teach you some social dynamics that'll keep you alive in this game. And I can teach you, some do's and some don'ts, and I can go over an advance with you. There's so much of it that's translatable via just instructional video that and online coaching and things like that I was like, man, I really want people to realize you can get so much out of, like, what's a conversation with you worth, with your amount of experience to a guy who's just like trying to get in the game and doesn't know how to survive in the Australian market. That's priceless. How do you put a price on that information? So I just hope that people really see that value.
I think one of the biggest things is getting in that network. Like, we had a funny example a couple of years ago. We were working with quite a well-known guy on the circuit over in Vegas and LA. Yeah. And we're in Sydney and we were driving, and he name dropped the guy that my business partner knew. So he's quickly texting over to LA going, hey, man, this guy dropped your name. At the same time, when we said, yeah, we know that guy, he's texting saying, hey, these guys reckon they know you. So you've got 2 points from opposite sides of the world, both hitting this one contact up, saying, why is he asking about you? Why is he asking about you? Whatever. And we're able to verify, the legitimate connections. It just shows what a small world it is. Like, and it's finding a way into those networks that's really tough. If you don't come from a place where you have an immediate network, guys, like, we're a veteran-owned business, so we really look hard to provide transitional pathways for guys coming out of military, coming out of law enforcement, to enter the private market. Something we really work hard on in trying to get rid of some of that red tape in the government and trying to allow a pathway to a place where we understand those challenges. But if you don't have a network like that where you can say, I know those guys at Empire, they're gonna look after me, they're gonna direct me. How do you manage that? And we're hoping that something like a training course, if it becomes a recognised centre for above standard training than having that certificate and having been around that environment and with people like us delivering it. There's a bit of relationship there, and we can bridge that gap for people. To have a bit of a network when they come through, and a mentor, and that's one of the biggest things, I think, having a mentor. Because there's going to be hard times in your EP career, like guaranteed. The work dries up from time to time, or the work gets hard from time to time, or you got to do details you don't want to do, you got to go places you don't want to go. You need that kind of support network or that mentor to direct you through that space,
Yeah, man. On that same question, and actually this is we're answering Mark's question and Omar's question in terms of how can I get into executive protection, and I'll get more specifically into Mark's, but exactly what you're saying, Josh, is like, because the only reason I survived is because I had mentors, I had people that brought me under their wing and helped me deal with it, especially with a military background. For me, it was like, I just got done taking over, Iraq and doing crazy stuff and it was like Lord of the Flies meets a juvenile facility, and government sanctioned war behavior. Like that was it, and then I had to learn how to, be corporate and be sensitive to this and sensitive to that, and the social intelligence around it, So then there's that whole like warlord to guardian thing I talk about. That's a psychological whole kind of mix up, and then getting used to the pace and all these little friction points coming from a military background. Law enforcement background guys, I see them kind of struggle with, can you still get the job done without a badge? You know what I mean? Without that authority, can you still grease those engines and go to a private jet airport, go to an FBO and still get tarmac access without badging anybody or, being the man, So in terms of getting into the industry, it's not enough just to have, it can be, but it's better for you if you have a stinking mentor and a network. These two things are invaluable. Like whatever Josh is asking you guys to pay him to get into that industry down there, to have those two assets, if you're trying to get in down in Australia, pay it, because having a network and a mentor is what's going to keep you alive, because things are going to happen. You have perceptions about the industry, and that's what I've done. That's what training day is. That's what that link at the bottom of your screen is all about. You have perceptions about the industry that you don't realize are not accurate. You're going to get faced with difficult times. You're going to get faced with a bunch of things that if you don't understand them and navigate them correctly, these things wipe a lot of people out. So my answer is, I've done that same thing that you're talking about, Josh, with creating the League of Executive Protection Specialists. You get a network. Everyone's doing their career together. We call on each other. I meet with everyone weekly in a Zoom format, video conference, kind of like we're doing right now. And I continue helping people through. So essentially, I mentor a big team of people, all of the, students, which are really my peers in most ways. And then we continue on, and, you have that asset. And as people get more opportunities, they bring opportunities back to their tribe, So, and the beauty of it is it is international, and it's, it's growing. We have almost 200 students already. We've been doing it for just a few months, about 7 months now. So if you guys are,
I really have to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I really have to commend you, bro, because you're taking what is a very closed market. EP guys are closed. We don't want to share the networks. Right. We don't want to tell people about the job because we might lose it. We don't want to add that extra guy in because now it's more competition. And it's wrong. It's just wrong.
It's so wrong.
It's not right, man. And I commend you for opening this space up to people, because it is that question, how do I get in? And that circle just closes tightly, and you're stuck outside it. And it shouldn't be like that. It's not a world we own. It's the.
Yeah, and there's more than enough. You know what I mean? Like there's more than enough clients. There's more than enough. And so I think it's that scarcity mentality. It's an ego thing. It's a insecurity that they're going to lose themselves. And on the other question too, something else I think is really cool about online learning is you go to these high-powered courses, you pay all this money for it, and then you just get left alone to do your career. So like you spend $4,000, you go to a school, I've done it, and then you learn a lot of really cool high-speed things. You're at the beginning of your career. You don't do half these things. You're on the residence for the first couple of years. You don't do half these things until like years later. And it's like, well, by then, like, hopefully you took good notes when they're like, hey, you got to go advance this, thing, and hopefully you have a good support system by that time. And then it's like you get that training and then it's like, bye, go be successful. The cool thing about digital content is you have that instructor with you forever. Like at any time, you just go in your back office and you're like, okay, sweet. Like I got to watch that module again. Now this is relevant. Now I'm being tasked with being on the movement team. Like, I got to go play with these boys tomorrow. Let me brush up on the movement team module or interfacing with the team. Let me see what my instructors say about that. Let me, so I got to go back on the job hunt. Let me go and see what my instructors say about, my resume and configuring that. It's, you keep the learning and you don't have to pay for gas, hotels, take a week off of work and not make money. You can learn at your own pace most of the time, so that's why I love that model. And then on-ground stuff's good too for what it's good for though.
And I think it's about when you get that opportunity, or even when you're looking, it's got to start now. So even if you haven't really started the journey, but you want to start the journey, it's about your image. And I've heard you talk before about selling your branding and creating your branding. And we get guys like, so we've got a Facebook group down here, an industry Facebook group, and there's quite a few members on there.
Yeah. What's it called, man? Plug your
group,
group, man. What's it called?
So there's a group down here, Security Network Australia. There's an Australian Security Forum. There's a few. Okay. But one thing I see, right, is these guys jumping on probably in the middle of a night shift. They're bored, they're tired, they're grumpy, whatever. And they'll put crap, man. And they'll start arguing with people. They'll start
being negative
themselves up or just putting a bad image, bro. And then 3 weeks later, I'll get a resume email to my account from that person, and they're selling themselves. And I'm like, but I already know you. Okay, it might be at your weak point, but that's the image that I have now. So I've seen this. You had an argument with a guy, like your keyboard warrior for a little while. Mm-hmm. I saw that happen. Now I get this resume that says, no, you're professional, you're amazing, but that conflict exists. And people remember that stuff for a while, and that happens quite regularly. So that branding and that networking starts before you even start, because, if somebody types a stupid comment on this forum now, and then a year later you run into them on a detail, you're going to be like, you're that guy, and
that guy,
it might not be representative of who you are or what you can do, but you're that guy, and it sticks.
You're that,
it sticks. And that's before you've even started, So you've got to be mindful, from the beginning, how you interact with people.
Yeah, man. And that's kind of on that. I always say, you're always selling security, man. You're always selling yourself. Your social media don't belong to you anymore, man. You know what I'm saying? That's part of your resume, homie. You know what I'm saying? Really, I joke a lot. I just like to have fun. I can be professional, I swear. But you got to realize everything you say, you're always you're managing perception, you're managing your brand. Everything you say and do, especially online, is immortalized, and one of the things I talk about when it comes to digital networking is purposely going into those groups and adding value and forming those relationships, commenting on things that, big fish in your area, and commenting effectively and intelligently, and making sure that you're, inclusive, and you're treating everyone right, because that stuff, you're always selling security, or you're not, and people are thinking about how you're going to impact their brand positively or negatively. Man, it's huge.
And people might have a perception. You mentioned perceptions before. People might think that, man, when I get on this detail, I'm going to be like the head PSO. I'm going to be the guy in front of the client. That's what they want me to do. They want me to save the life. They want me to No, we want you to book the hotel. We want you to get the keys cut. We want you to sweep the rooms. We want you to have the advance report prepared. They're things that people have that misconception. Like you said, when you come on the detail, you're on the residential team, or you're in the third card down the back of the convoy. You are not that guy. And if I get to a hotel and the advance report's there for me and it's done and it's good, I'm happy. If I get there with the client and the keys are ready, the room's been swept, it's clean, everything's sorted, the luggage is away, I'm happy.
That's a guy. Yeah.
That's a guy we want to work with.
That's the guy. That's the guy.
Man.
And that gets remembered. You might think, oh man, I'm just doing this boring hotel report, and you're ahead of the team. You're not with the boys. You're thinking, oh, I'm being left out a little bit. No, that's what we want. That gets remembered.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you're better to work with. James Hickey has another question about you. What would you look at as baseline qualifications for starting an opportunity with Empire Protection? I think he's trying to get you to hire him. I don't know. Kind of.
Look, to be honest, we have the government mandated minimums. Obviously, we have to have those things. But essentially, for us, we don't recruit. Essentially, like we've never really just gone out cold to LinkedIn to recruitment agencies and said, "Hey, we're recruiting." It's like first degree networks, and then it's like if you need more, it's second degree networks, and then it's third degree networks, and it's people you trust, and so on. We like to build relationships with people. We don't essentially say, let's come to a job interview, and then after an hour, we've got a job. It's about let's keep in touch, let's talk over time, let's share some experiences, let's have a coffee, let's do a small job together, let's ask around, it's a bit of a process because anybody can look good for an hour, bro. I mean, we can come on here and look shiny for an hour and then sell an impression, but is it the real deal? Like,
it's that honeymoon phase, man. Yo, James, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to put you out there like that. He hit back. He's like, I swear I'm not after a job. I just thought it was funny, man. No hard feelings. I was just messing around. Oh, that's funny. But yeah,
I'm sure I've spoken to James on some of the Facebook groups before. And look, even that kind of thing, like that. Yeah. That interacting, that keeping it, I'm aware of who people are. They talk, and I see Shane's comment there. Shane has worked with us a number of times. Great guy. He knows everybody in the industry. Everyone knows Shane. Yeah. And Shane's a guy I can go to, and if Shane says to me, "Hey, we've got this guy Billy over here. He's good." Mm-hmm. Well, on Shane's word, I'm gonna be more likely to give that guy a shot than somebody that just calls up and I get about 30 or 40 resumes a week and then emailed through the website. I work with you and whatever. It's like, cool, man. I don't know you. Like, you just that's fine. I understand how it works. It's a tough market, and I don't want to be that guy that just shuts the door at people. That's not what we're about. But you just got to keep networking.
Dude, it really does.
Find that way to get noticed for the right reason.
Yeah, and get noticed for the right reasons. And that's why I say it's all about widening your sphere of relationships. High quality, specific relationships. If you can do that, you're going to have options. If you can't do that, you're too cool for school or whatever, you haven't found ways to widen that sphere of high quality people that trust you, you're just not going to have options in the industry. And that's the game. That's the magic, man. That's the secret sauce. And you hear us saying, like, on your boy Shane's word, I call it good dude credit. You know what I'm saying? So you're on the phone with one of your buddies. I'm like, yo, what's up with this Jeff guy? And he's like, and my buddy's like, yeah, man, Jeff, he's Navy SEALs, ex-Special Forces, Secret Service, everything. And I'm waiting to hear one thing. And I don't even realize I'm waiting to hear it, actually. And I'm sure you guys use a different lingo. But I'm waiting to hear my buddy be like, he's a good dude. And the second my buddy's like, yo, he's solid, he's a good dude, I'm like, okay, cool. He could have all the credentials in the world. Until my homie says something along the lines of, yo, he's solid, he's a good dude. That's why I call it good dude credit. I'm just like not impressed, and once he puts his name on him, it's like, okay, solid, we'll give this guy a shot, and it's on you if he messes up too, That's the ultimate.
And I want to give people hope too, because you can create that yourself. And I'll give you an example. If we run a major event for a client in a big space, and you got like 200 or 300 arena guards working the event space, they obviously know that space better than I do. I might fly in and I get the quick 2-minute tours from the event manager, and then I'm out the door. Mm-hmm. So we'll typically look for like the best guard that I can see in the space that works there every day. I'll look around, like who looks switched on, who looks sharp, who's the guy that looks like he actually cares and knows what he's talking about. And then I might grab that guy and go, hey, man, come with me. Show me what I need to know. Answer my questions. Tell me who I need to talk to, this or that. That guy might then, based on that week's or month or whatever it might be, it might only be an hour.
Right.
We remember that stuff. And then we go, oh, we're back in Perth. Remember that guy from the arena? He was amazing. Let's get him on that detail, or let's get him involved in this, or let's find out who he knows. Or so even the guy that might think, oh well, I'm just sitting on a crowd control barrier, or I'm just out on the, in one of the VOMs watching the show. You can still have a place. You can still find a way to
make it matter.
Out. And there's opportunities exist.
They do, and you create them based on the way you do the work, man. Because like for me, that's how I got into executive protection. I was bouncing and I was just doing the best I could at it. And I just decided, you know what? End of the night, I'm going to just be a good dude, clean off some tables, respectfully ask these guys to leave, and they've been watching me all night from the door. They've been watching me all night from the moment I checked their IDs and brought them into the bar. I talk about it. One of them I have on my show and I talk with them about it, Luke, right? And on an early Luke Agajani, and I talked with him on an earlier episode, and he's like, dude, we were watching you all night. We were watching the way you did the work all night. And then when you approached us and had to kick us out, you were extremely respectful. And that's when we knew you could represent the brand. And that's when I said what I said, which was, yo, he's like, have him do it. And the other guy's like, have him do what? He's like, have him work with him. He's like, you're a Marine? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you have combat experience? I'm like, yes, sir. And then he's like, go get these 2 permits. Give me a call back in 2 weeks, and I'll show you how to make a lot more money doing what you're doing. And that, just like that. Next thing you know, interviewing in Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills, in the back of a Bentley, speaking with a client, and my whole life changes. So you can't despise where you're at in the industry. On networking, Michael Rowan says, he's like, I can say firsthand that networking has helped me directly here recently with my transition into another company, in which I met the training director of a driving course. The networking earned me his word to team, and I'm aiming to get into it. Basically, hard work, networking pays off. Basically, he met someone at a training event, which then created an opportunity. Both these examples are the same thing. Basically, I met somebody out that had the capability to help me into the industry, created that equity by doing the work well, and that created the opportunity. Michael met someone at a training operation, was a professional, operated well, demonstrated value, created opportunity through that relationship that he procured that way as well, man. So, this relationship thing.
And simple things like, even for us over here doing this with you now, we're coming to a time where travel is going to be restricted or expensive or whatever it's going to be the next few years. We don't know what that looks like. Us getting on here and networking to you getting on here and networking to our side of the world. It's like now, instead of me flying a team of 4 over to the States or to South America or to Canada like we usually would, now I'm likely to be saying, I'm just going to fly one guy and I want a local team. Because it's cheaper, and or I can't get the permits, or I can't get it sorted out. Now with networking, I can come to you. You're going to point me in the direction of these guys, and vice versa. You want an advance done over here before you arrive? Well, just give us a call. We'll get it done. These things are the ability, and it's a small world. Like, clients travel everywhere. We all know we end up in some weird places with clients, man. Places you think you're never going to see in your life, and that's where you end up. We spent the best part of 2018, 2019 in Papua New Guinea, of all places. If anybody even knows where that is, it's a little island in the Pacific. It's mostly jungle. It's pretty crazy, man. But we spent a lot of time there, and that's not something we expected. But going through that country, which is mostly just people living in tribal villages still, it's like there's an American dude, there's a British guy, there's a German guy. Every town's got that one guy, and you build your networks and you work out where people came from. And hiking through a jungle in the middle of nowhere, I met a guy, and it turns out we've got a connection through another guy in London. It's crazy. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah, it's a small world and even smaller industry once you start getting out there, man. I guess we'll do one or two more questions and then we'll wrap up. It's about all the time I had. Let's see. I see something from Mark down here. How important are hard skills in the EP industry? How can you explain how the EP world is expanding? So 2 questions. You want to hit it first, Josh, or you want me to get after it?
Yeah, I'll take it, man. So, look, the hard skills they're important. We need to know you can do what you can do. You know, that once in a lifetime event, that one time. Most guys will go their entire career and they'll have to defend their principal from a deadly
physical attack. Yeah,
you know? It's correct. You know, corporate espionage and things are becoming the way of the future, and there's a whole bunch of other things like risk to reputation and all those other things that matter the most. You know, the Britney Spears famous clip getting out of the limousine. You know, that shouldn't have happened. The EP should have sorted that out.
Yep.
You know, those are the things that are moving. So look, the hard skills, they're important. And our model particularly because, so I have a law enforcement background, my business partner's out of Special Forces in the Australian Army. A couple of our executive managers are from corporate backgrounds, and we make an effort to blend those experiences. We don't just take the military way or the law enforcement way or just the corporate way. We look at everything and say, for this specific task, what's the best option? How do we blend those three cultures and methods and work out, take the best out of each and leave the rest behind, you know? So look, the hard skills they need to be there. But like we said before, I think the soft skills are probably more important, or equally important at least. And the EP world expanding, look, it's going to expand. Some things are predictable. We looked, you know, over time and we say, okay, technology's ramping up, you know, travel's getting easier, so travel exists more. You know, we can do things with clients now through open source intelligence and tracking technology where you don't necessarily have to send physical bodies as much as you used to, or you can reduce team numbers, or, you know, we can now pick up tracking for lower level principals in an organization that wouldn't necessarily get physical EP, but now they get some level of, you know, there's all the things that we can predict those things. Those trends are somewhat predictable, but I guess it's the dynamic nature of the industry. Like it'll take one assassination, one kidnapping, one terrorist event, one major corporate espionage event that hits global media, and the whole space will change overnight. Yeah. You know, and whether the real risk assessment, whether our risk assessment says, yeah, this should change, or whether it's just media-driven panic that the clients start going, oh, we need this. I don't care.
We need helicopters.
Bro, seriously, like if the media want to put out that everybody needs a bodyguard, then please do. You know, that's brilliant.
Yeah, if you guys got contacts.
You know, so you like, and I think you mentioned it before. It has to be dynamic. You know, it has to be. You have to be ready for tomorrow's event. 9/11 happened in a moment, and it changed the security world forever. You know, and that moment could happen again in the next moment. You know.
Yeah. No, I think that's outstanding, man. That's really, you've said it. You know, it's really hard to quantify how valuable both sets of skills are. So I would say they're both absolutely paramount to being a well-rounded agent. The reality of the game is, though, your soft skills are going to keep you in the game, keep you next to the client, keep you getting paid. You're going to use them a vast majority of the time. But when you need a parachute, you need a parachute. And there's nothing else on this planet you need than a parachute when you need a parachute. So both of these skills, my man, are paramount. But, you know, I'm telling you, you can be the most special forces, Navy, wizard, Jedi dude. If you don't have soft skills, the client's going to say, hey, Byron, you know, Jeff, just for some reason, he's just not really fit, you know, and they're going to come up with something to get rid of you because you're not fitting. You're not able to gain cultural equity, essentially, or you're not able to have that connection with the client. And it's very much like dating. You know, I find sometimes, you know, just working with a client and trying to like get this kind of professional relationship to just be like comfortable, you know. At first it is. I still to this day am a little bit awkward and a little bit uncomfortable when I first start to be with a new client, until we really get into our groove. And it takes a few times. I'll admit that, and I'm doing it all the time. I'm working multiple security details a day sometimes, but this is just the work. Those soft skills are really where it's at.
I think if I had any advice in that space, it is to work on the situational awareness over the actual response, because you can be the best, like you said, the Delta 6 guy, but in our space, we're standing around for 12, 16, 18 hours a day.
Very often.
Right? You can't be switched on in ready stance for 18 hours a day, right? So when we train, we know the scenario. We know we're going to draw the weapon. We know we're going to, fight off the attacker. In our world, you're 18 hours in, you're tired as hell, you're hungry, you're busting for the bathroom, whatever it might be.
Right.
And you still have to have that 360 awareness. So what my point is a guy with medium level hard skills, but amazing situational awareness, who gets onto that threat that 5 seconds earlier, is probably going to have more chance at mitigating that risk than the guy with amazing skills who gets hit over the head before he even knows what's happened.
Yeah.
So I think in that space, you can kind of make up for a gap in hard skills a little bit by just being that guy that is super aware.
Yeah. And that's actually why I focused on soft skills with the Protect Your Symposium, because everybody thinks what makes you like this BA dude is just like your physical skills. It's like, nah, dude, you understand mindset. You understand what your body will do when you're ambushed. What Tony Blair taught on. You understand behavioral profiling, what Yosef Badu teaches on. Like, you understand these things, bro. You're way left of bang, as they say. You're ahead of the attack, as they say. So there's so much you can do in here before you have to do anything in here. And then on the expansion of the private security industry, I think you said it perfect, Josh. It's predictable, especially as we see these different little tectonic plates in our world of fear, destabilization, and these changes that are going on around pandemics and conversations like that. The basic need of security for individuals is just being recognized, is being even more validated, so I guess this is where, I got to go eat dinner. You got anything else you want to leave on that, Josh?
Mate, quickly, man, I want to say one thing to all the American listeners out there that are heading over this way. A couple of key points, right? Because these are the
bread and butter,
thorn in my side on every American job.
Get them.
We don't have Escalades. We don't have Suburbans. We don't have big black luxury SUVs. Don't call me and ask me to organize 3 black Escalades. We don't have them. We can get you Range Rovers. We can get you Audis. We can get you Mercedes vans. But I don't think I've ever done a job for a US client where they don't yell at me at the end because we couldn't get an Escalade. There's probably 4 in the country. And even if I bought one, it would be like a neon sign driving down the freeway saying, American client in the car. So please just accept that we don't have them. It's not my fault. I haven't failed to deliver for you. They just don't exist. Secondly, yes, we don't carry guns. We have a ridiculous law in Australia. If you can bear with this, we have a law that says you can carry a firearm to protect property, but you can't shoot to protect property. But you can't carry a firearm to protect life, although you can shoot to protect life. So, ignoring why that exists.
Just this is the situation. It's horrible.
It is what it is. Again,
just is what it is.
It's not my fault. I didn't create this. It's not my rules. Don't yell at me about it. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
So we don't carry guns. We do carry ass battens and handcuffs and all those other things, and we can probably train some attack kangaroos for you if that's required, man. But don't yell at me about it. and when we say we can't do it, it's not a lack of energy or willingness. It is not possible.
It is the situation.
One more thing.
Yeah, man.
Don't do your advances on like travel times in America at midday because it's convenient for you, and then tell me that you can get from A to B in 15 minutes. Because guess what? When you did it at midday, it was 4 a.m. here, so it said the travel time was 10 minutes. But then you want to do it at peak hour in our time, and it's going to take you an hour. Again, that's not my fault. So my point is, reach out to guys. Reach out to guys in your network. If you're coming to Asia, to Australia, to New Zealand, to the Pacific, anywhere over here, wherever you go in the world, reach out to local guys and get that stuff done for you. Pay that little bit or tap your networks and find out who's going to help you out. Because so many jobs we've had from particular US clients, sometimes European clients, that go wrong because of their admin, their logistics, or their false expectations. And it leaves the client with a bad taste. The principal's unhappy over these logistical things that could have just been mitigated early on. So reach out to guys in a local space. If you don't know the area, find a guy in that space. Ask around your local networks. We all know people globally. People can save our details. Empireprotection.com.au for all of the Asia, Australia, the Pacific. Find people wherever you go so that you can reach out and ask those questions. You can set the expectations for your principal before you leave, so they're not upset when they land.
Exactly. And it beautifully. Thank you for those pointers, Josh. Yeah. I think it's awesome. The Escalade thing that in Europe and places like that, that's something you're going to run into, guys, for when you start working in that part of the world. Just deal with it. And they really don't like automatics like we do either over there in like Europe and other places. So when it comes, you might actually have to learn how to stick shift. Don't be like me, who didn't have a father and ended up in Brazil. And this happened in Ireland where I got in, they're on the other side of the road, and my other guy, the advanced guy, tosses me keys and he's like, keep up. And I get in the car and I got to drive stick shift left-handed, and my dad never taught me how to do it. So I had to figure it out on the fly. Barely made it. Nightmare. Covered in sweat, So nonetheless, make sure you know how to drive the stick shifts and stuff, and make sure you know those things going into it. The beautiful thing about what Josh is saying is it goes right back to our first comment, which was, how do you deal with working overseas? And I was like, relationships. And now we're sitting there having this conversation like, hey, utilize local assets that you trust. And so I got something going on in Australia. I'm going to hit Josh up, and I'm going to be like, hey, man, you're a recognized company. You have street credit. I'm going to make sure I understand, I'm going to vet him, ask my da-da-da-da-da. If I didn't know who he was, I'm going to ask people who know. Make sure you're using reputable companies, and then leverage the heck out of those relationships. You're going somewhere, you can't carry a gun. If it requires a gun, utilize local assets. If it requires anything, you need to attack kangaroos, maybe attack koala bears. You know what I'm saying? Use those local assets, man. Relationships. Man, I saw one last good question. I want to see if we can answer. Josh, see what you think about this one. They've been listening to me talk too much, I think. We've got a guy who's got a first meeting with a client, potential client. Any advice?
First advice.
Yeah.
First advice, be honest, man.
Yes.
One thing I think I see all the time is people overselling and under-delivering. You're going to get found out straight away doing that. So, if you're a startup, I would be pitching, hey, you're my only client, or you're one of a very small group of clients, so I can dedicate more to you. You will see more of the higher level management guys, that maybe they're dealing directly with you as the owner, as opposed to just some account manager down the chain. Sell to them that they're critically important to your business, because they might be one of your only clients, as opposed to a company that has 100 clients. I'd be pitching that avenue, but I would be brutally honest about your capabilities. I would listen to what they want. I see so many pitches go in and say, this is what we do, this is how we deliver it, this is what you're going to get. Listen, what do they want to achieve? What problem are they trying to solve? Don't tell them, what their problems are. Look, if you need to, throw in maybe a free risk assessment, or push in, some value adds there. Like, what can they what can you deliver them that somebody else isn't willing to, but you might want to go that extra mile for your first client, and to make that impression. So what can you add? What can you add value to? Be honest. Yeah, that'd be my main advice.
Man, that's awesome advice, man. Be 100% honest. Don't try to show up bigger than you really truly are. I like to manage expectations and let them. I am a relationship centric person, so I like to let them know that, hey, entering into this, my goal is to build a long lasting relationship with you. So I'm open to making changes and delivering the exact things that you need that fit your life, that keep you as safe as possible. So I lean on, we're going into building a professional relationship together. Obviously, these are all the different things I can do. And I think just the genuineness, because if you're not authentic, it's so detectable. You're going to be, I would tell you, you're going to be a little bit nervous and you're going to be a little bit uncomfortable. And this is going to be something that will help you deal with what's going to be taking place in your body possibly. But just make sure that the two things, make sure that everything you offer is 100%. You can deliver on it. You can deliver on it, and that everything is backed up and totally legit. When you have a plan, or when it's totally legit, you can present it with clean energy. That's like one of the main things. And then, I forgot the other thing I was going to tell you. Yeah. Well, make sure you're rehearsed. Make sure everything that you're presenting is, on point with what you can deliver on. That's one thing. Don't pretend to be someone you're not. That's definitely another good thing. And the other one will probably come back to me in a minute or two. But hope we gave you some good advice. Hope we gave you some good advice on that one, brother. And good luck, man. And also realize that you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. You know what I mean? This is all a learning process. If they do accept you and they give you the ball, run with it. If they don't, pay attention to everything in that meeting and learn from it. And just accept the fact that you're really not going to get all of them. And that's the reality of the game. And it's fine. That's how you learn and that's how you grow. It happens to all of us.
And one more, maintain your integrity. So if you've got a set price that you've worked out is your minimum number, and you find out some dude has undercut you for some ridiculous money that's not even legal, it's not going to work. Don't be the guy that undercuts to get there. If your product is worth what it's worth, you'll get it there. Don't start, paying your guys less and skimping on insurances and all the other things that are required just so you can win a contract. It's not worth it.
It really isn't worth it. And the clients, now we're getting into another real quick rabbit hole. And the clients that are going to start skimping you on prices, to me, that's a red flag. To me, you're maybe dealing with someone who doesn't really value security, and you're maybe dealing with someone who's going to just be kind of skimping you the whole entire time you're working for them. And it's going to be more work sometimes. Not all the times, but sometimes. And you don't want to find yourself in a place as you get downrange with that contract where you're like, I'm doing all this work for the sale price I gave them, months ago, and this is really not worth it, because the clients that are willing to pay you for your services are the ones that will bother you less. The ones that are starting to try to whittle everything down are the ones that are usually your worst clients. And this is as much time for you to interview them as it is time for them to interview you, because you are going to get in bed with them. And the client service provider relationship is just like the employee boss relationship. It is actually cyclical. I need my teammates to be good just as bad as they need me to be good to them. You know what I'm saying? I need my guys, and I need them to maintain brand integrity, or I have nothing, right? And I need my clients to help me provide for my team. You know what I'm saying? But they also need a service, So, step into it with that realization and a place of humility with that realization, and just really try to put together the best plan you can for them, and be honest and authentic about it and things, and if it works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, keep making moves, man. Keep sending rounds downrange until you get accurate enough to hit something. That's my advice, man. Any closing thoughts, Josh?
That's good, man. Look, I think to summarize basically everything we've spoken about today, we talked about it can be a closed industry, it can be an egocentric industry, it can be an industry full of hot air, and that won't change. It'll be like that for a while. We can do our best, and I think what you're doing over there with your podcasting, your training, I think you're opening a space. Looking at the comments here, it's so encouraging to see that people are engaging and taking the stigma out of the whole industry and opening up a space where people feel comfortable to be involved. We're definitely along the same thoughts down here. So my phone lines are open for people. Anywhere in the world, it's a different country, but it's usually the same problem. So I think the more people that get in that group and start a new culture, we might not get rid of the old one, but we might create enough space where things can change for people.
Yeah, man. I just threw your website down there just so people can go and check that out too. empireprotection.com.au. And yeah, man, absolutely. Love what you guys are doing. And for me, man, it's the same thing. Like, I survived because people brought me under their wing. One of the biggest things that I try to teach in my course, and one of the biggest things I want to do, is positively impact the culture of executive protection. So that's because, and this is something I'm passionate about. I'm trying to hang it up, but the wife told me I got a few more minutes before breakfast is done. Real quick, it's so much safer on a security detail when everybody realizes that cooperation is superior to competition. So like, you can get on a detail, and what you probably end up really dealing with on many occasions is, I'm the head dude on the detail. I'm next to the client. I'm, the eye guy thing, and I do the important things. And there can be this battle that's going on amongst teammates to be the coolest guy, the best guy, who's getting the most attention. And guys are throwing each other under the bus, and guys are stabbing each other in the back, and it's so bad for business, because while these guys are stabbing you in the back and you're stabbing them in the back, how's the client supposed to respect you? Then the client could get fed up and just wipe all of you out and bring a whole new team in. Happens all the time. Or you're destabilized constantly because you're in these firefights with the other guys on your team, and kind of and that's what we see on the detail size. But you also see it in the larger industry, in so many different ways between businesses. What I've found is the best teams I've been on have been all about, hey, Byron, you did a great job today working with me at the venue. Sir, ma'am, you know what? I couldn't have done it without my team. The advanced guys set me up solid. The other movement guys made sure everything was clear. Thank you so much. On the behalf of the team, I say thank you. It's an honor working with you. So I'm constantly deflecting, compliments or positive stuff and saying, hey, it's the team. You keep the team strong. You always give credit to the team. You take no credit, actually. In fact, if you're really good, you give credit to your leader all the time. You keep him strong so he can influence the client. So the client is like, all the guys say you're a good dude. Maybe I'll listen. You keep him strong. And these social dynamics stabilize your team and make it so you can all make money longer and everyone's okay. Just play your position, and protect each other. So that's what I'm trying to get out into the industry. That's what I try to build, that dynamic inside every team I'm in. And that's what I'm trying to educate private security professionals to be able to do in details that they go to, because it's just like a win-win for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
I've got a saying, man, it's a marathon, not a sprint. We need to be in it for that long game, and guys need to have patience sometimes. I've got guys sitting in the wings, that have sent me resumes, or that I've worked with them a little bit here and there. That they're in the wings. I haven't forgot about it, but the opportunity might not be there right now. If I could give every good guy in the industry a go and girl, I would, man. I'd do it today. But the opportunities are sometimes limited, particularly in a COVID world. We've had to redo things, so just be patient, because it doesn't mean if you contacted me 3 months ago that we've forgotten about you or that we didn't care. It's still there, but we just have to wait for that right chance. And we don't want to set people up with something that might set them up to fail either. Like, if guys have less experience, we're going to have to bring you in on a scaled thing. so that you don't fail, because you don't want to fail on your first job. You don't want to get there and it'd be over your head, and then that was your one chance. So we're trying to support people. So just be patient. It might take longer than you want, but the result will be better in the end. But like you, I'm sure, man, if you could give all these great guys and girls a job today, you'd do it. But
absolutely
not always the way.
Yeah, and executive protection is the big leagues. It's like 1% of the private security industry. So like the amount of jobs that are coming up and openings that are coming up, guys, there's it's a lot of competition. You got to do a lot of things right. So yeah, man, I wish I had work for all the good dudes I know, so that's a dynamic. Well, we're going to wrap this thing up. This has been good, man. Thanks for hanging with us, Josh Reeve of Empire Protection, man. Thanks for hanging with us. I'll be hollering at you if I ever come down under. It's an honor.
It's a pleasure, man. I love your podcast. We'll keep in touch.
Awesome. No, I look forward to that for sure. And all you guys that joined us, thank you so much for your time. Hope we gave you some value. If you guys want to train with me and join the League of Executive Protection Specialists, there is that link on the bottom of the screen. Click that link and we get 70% off right now. That's awesome. They got payment plans. We got all kinds of stuff in there just to make the barriers to entry lower, because especially right now, we're trying to build that network, right? And we are building that network. It's pretty good. Anyways, it's an honor to do what we do. And until the next podcast, it's Byron Rodgers, protector by nature and by trade. We'll see you guys out there. Out. Yo, if you're a private security professional wanting to take your game to the next level, go to executiveprotectiontrainingday.com to check out my personal success package for private security professionals. Check it out, executiveprotectiontrainingday.com. And remember, y'all, hard skills do save lives, but soft skills get you paid. Boom. Boom. And to support this podcast, go to executiveprotectionlifestyle.com and contribute to our Patreon account. That Patreon account is what helps me make this podcast possible, contributing to this brand, what we're doing here, making it so that I can bring better guests on, making it so that we can plan more events and just expand the contribution to the private security industry, and also to making America a safer place. Do whatever you can, contribute whatever you can, because it makes all of these things possible. Thanks for those contributions. Yo, and before we go, I got to shout out to the sponsors, starting out with Primary Weapon Systems, PWS. They truly are the evolution of the rifle. Use Byron for 10% off. Grayman & Company, the most comfortable tactical suits in the game. Use Byron for 10% off with them. Ballistic Theory. You're going to start seeing a lot of stuff with me in Ballistic Theory because they got good ammo for good prices. Use Byron for my discount with those guys as well. Last but not least, Executive Protection Institute. Hey, go check them out and get your executive protection education on. Until the next podcast, this is Byron Rodgers, protector by nature and by trade. Out.